Welcome back. I'm Mia, and this is a space where we blend faith, psychology, and feminine wisdom to redefine what healthy, intentional dating looks like in today's world. This is Rewriting Romance, modern dating with old school wisdom. So last episode, we set the foundation of what our intentions are when it comes to dating, setting boundaries, and trusting God's timing. Today, I want to dive into what the book likes to call Be a Creature Like No Other. And no, this is not about perfection. It's more about becoming a woman that moves differently, about becoming a woman that radiates peace, confidence, and grace because she knows who she is and what she deserves. This, my friend, is the glow up era. So we've talked about identifying those qualities and characteristics that we're looking for in a partner. And then I asked you to challenge yourself and ask, do I embody the same qualities and characteristics that I'm looking for in that partner? So let's go ahead and take that cold, hard, honest look inward with our pride aside and assess where we need to grow. So let's start with something simple but very powerful, and that's going to be building your confidence. The book likes to call it the product. And I know it sounds transactional, but you are the price. And I will be honest, there are going to be some parts of this book that I don't fully align with, but that we can unpack later on. But this principle right here, this one has weight. Why? Because when you take care of yourself, you're going to start feeling better. And when you feel better, you're going to start radiating confidence. So let's start with the foundation of that, and that's going to be your health. What does your nutrition look like? And I know that you've heard it before. You are what you eat. And that's very true. You are what you eat. And I'm not talking about extreme dieting where you're going to go and eat just vegetables and water and whatever other fat is out there. What I'm talking about here is to be more intentional about what you're fueling your body with, because what you eat directly impacts how you show up mentally, physically, and emotionally. So for instance, for me, what that nutritional breakdown looks like is going to be a high quality protein. So that will be 100% grass-fed meat, pork, chicken, and salmon, because yes, we need that omega. And then a healthy source of fats. So like an avocado, bacon, and yes, I said bacon, and eggs, although I've cut eggs out of my diet along with dairy just for my skincare. And when I can give you some tips on that too, but I don't want to digress too much. And then also, I do have a very low carb diet. So I get my carb intake through sweet potatoes because it is less starchy. I don't do any potatoes or pasta. Very once in a while, I'll do rice. Now, I know sweet potato is not for everyone, so you can do rice. I would suggest doing jasmine rice and cooking it with coconut oil to reduce that starchiness, which that leads me to my next point. The what you cook with is going to be just as important. So eliminate those seed oils. So no vegetable oil, no canola oil. Cook with more coconut oil, 100% grass-fed butter, extra virgin olive oil, and even bacon grease. And then eliminate your sugars. Very important. That's also going to help with your skincare. I mean, overall, this basic breakdown of a diet really will help in so many aspects, but also for your skincare. Because all of these small choices do compound. They will shape your energy, your focus, and your overall mood. Because at the end of the day, all of this will influence how you show up in a lot of aspects in your life, especially in your relationships. And I want you to remember that your wellness isn't just about rest. It's also about movement. So yes, activity, workout. So figure out what that is, right? You don't have to do a gym heavyweight workout or, cardio, whatever that looks like for you. Is it Pilates? Is it yoga? Is it, joining a boot camp? Whatever that looks like for you, find out what you enjoy to get your heart going, because that's going to also improve your heart health, and it's going to really build your stamina, focus, and confidence. And once you start, seeing those results, it's really going to start building that momentum for you to keep going, because you're going to really start feeling more healthy, happy, and strong. And whenever you start building that structured diet and that consistent workout, you're really going to start building that discipline. And that discipline is going to be the foundation of delayed gratification. So the book says, and I like this, you'll have to experience a certain amount of discomfort when you can't eat a cookie and you can't call a man. Well, in today's world, can't text a man. But I really like this because this is about a mindset reset. It's about understanding the gratification. It's not about that instant reward, right? And we see that a lot in today's world, that instant reward. I want you to think about gratification is when the right man does reach out and he starts honoring your boundaries, he starts pursuing you, and eventually he'll ask you to marry you. Gratification is not about that hot fudge sundae or about accepting that last minute hot date that, just compromises all of your standards. And we've been there, so we don't want to fall back to that. Because at the end of the day, true confidence, the kind that attracts the right kind of man, comes from a place of quiet discipline, of becoming the woman who already embodies everything that you desire. So now let's talk about self-care and presentation, because how you show up on the outside often reflects how you feel on the inside. This is actually an area that I don't completely align with the rules. The book talks about how women should dress for a male's gaze, and that is by changing your wardrobe with wearing bright and sexy colors, being more fashionable and staying with fashion trends. And I just don't really like how that kind of portrays. Because now, while I understand where it's coming from back in the day, I think this needs more of a modern, feminine reinterpretation. To me, it's not about dressing for the male gaze. It's more about dressing for yourself. When you start to take time in your appearance, it's not about that vanity. It's more about stewardship. It's about reflecting a self-respect, discipline, and confidence. So yes, it is very important to take that time and effort to look put together, well-groomed, and just be approachable overall. But this is the part we really start to embody our femininity. But don't ever feel that you need to change who you are and fit somebody else's idea of beauty. And some women are bold fashionista and think the heels, the statement jewelry, the glam makeup, and I fall a little bit more towards that spectrum. But then there are the other minimal and natural kind of beauty. Those clean lines, simple beauty, and just that soft energy, which that is also very feminine and very empowering as well. And I really do admire those very soft, feminine look. That's something that I would like to embrace a little bit more, but I just express myself more with fashion. So let me give you a visual. Today I did dress down, wearing a baggy shirt, wearing my hair up, less makeup, and, wearing the sneakers. So I'm going to go ahead and dress it up a little bit. All right. So I'll be back. Alrighty. I'm back. All right. So what did I do? I tucked in my shirt, put in a little accent belt, and then just jewelry. And now for my hair, let's actually put it down, okay, to just make it a little bit more feminine. And voila. And then honestly, for makeup, you don't have to wear all of that glam look. Honestly, if you just do mascara, a blush, and well, we got a lipstick here. We're gonna just do that. And that will only heighten your beautiful features that God gave you. All right. So don't think that you need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on any like makeup trend and all these like high brand stuff. So it's all about being you and being the most authentic you. Don't change who you are, just emphasize it. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So aside from all of the fashion aspect of it, let's talk about other stuff about self-care, which is going to be, tidying up your nails, making sure that they're nice and clean, making sure your hair is hydrated and clean, making sure you do have a good skincare for your skin glow and skin health. I'm a girly at heart, but I'm also low maintenance. So these are just press-on nails. That's my dirty little secret. My hair, honestly, I just use plant-based stuff for my hair now. So no heavy chemicals or any of that stuff. I barely use heat on my hair, so I try to like naturally let it dry out and everything. And if I do use the heat protector for my skin. I do take more time. I have a whole routine morning and night for my skincare because I am like 30 and we need to really take care of our skin around 28, they say, to help with prevention. So yeah, just find that routine that makes you feel taken care of, and it's gonna help so much and just feeling more confident as well. So make sure that you do find that, because when you end up feeling good, you start projecting confidence. And when you project confidence, you naturally start to attract attention. Now, here's the key. Not all attention is meant for you or is right. So make sure that we do stay grounded and stay humble. And the goal is not to seek validation. The goal is to embody grace, confidence, and discernment, because femininity isn't loud. It's a quiet power. And that is the kind of presence that really draws in that right kind of man in your life, okay? Alrighty, so let's go ahead now, and away from this external glow up, I want to now look at the internal glow up. And what that is transforming your internal mindset, discipline, and faith. So this is where we really do the work. And this is the patient part of it, right? This is the harder part of it. The renewal does talk about it in a self-love kind of way. This is where I don't 100% align with it. And hear me right, even though I think it's very important to know that your worth does matter, I do want to challenge this concept a little bit. Because if we think about it, if we stop just at self-love, we start to risk about looking more inward, right? More self-worshiping, right? And you risk staying stuck there. Because when self-love becomes the destination, it could risk of it becoming complacency, which then turns into selfishness, and then it starts becoming a place of emptiness that you're going to start feeling, and then it's going to really disconnect you from what God actually has called you out to become. So this is not the goal. The goal is not to say to yourself, I'm enough, because at the end of the day, you are not enough. None of us are not enough. we're not perfect. And I really want you to hear me right. Okay? Like, we are not perfect in any way, and that is okay. Because at the end of the day, we are work in progress. We're going to be working and growing every single day. Who I was this morning is not who I am today. I'm constantly learning. We are creatures that just learn and learn. And that's the beautiful part about being a human. So this is also where I'm like, take your pride aside and start receiving, because we really need to be self-aware. And so again, the goal is to become more aligned with what God creates us to be in every single aspect and every single day. So I challenge you, instead of chasing self-love, let's chase growth. Let's chase wisdom. Let's chase purpose. So what does this mean, and what can you strive on chasing, and that way you can start becoming that woman that God has created you to be? So first off, a woman of character and integrity, right? So strive to be a woman that has that character and integrity, especially that character and integrity you're looking for in a man. And then a strong leader, right? Doesn't mean that we don't need to be leaders. Yes, let's be strong leaders in our workplace, in our homes, in our community. And then being a loving wives and mother, if that's your calling, and hopefully, one day I will be. And then a role model that inspires others, not just with words, but by actions. Because a high value woman isn't defined about how much she loves herself, but by her discipline, her wisdom, her faith, and how she serves others. So the Bible is very clear here. Worth doesn't come from self-love or self-validation. And Proverbs 31, which is a really good passage to read, shows us the true value comes from fearing the Lord, living in wisdom, and pouring into others. And in specific Proverbs 31:25, it says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come." Wow. That's powerful, because that kind of confidence doesn't come from perfection. It actually comes from trust. And that's trusting in God's process and trust in the woman that He's molding you to be. So when I think about mindset work and spiritual growth, I took a few first steps in this, and I think is the very crucial step. And I really want you to hear me right, because I've already said this multiple times in today's podcast, but that's honestly to get over yourself. And I say that very lovingly. Get over yourself. Your pride is going to be your biggest obstacle to hinder that growth, especially your spiritual growth. Because when you end up removing your pride, you do open yourself up for correction, to mentorship, and to accept people that have the fruit in the tree, that has walked that path before you. So ask yourself, who is that person that has the fruit in the tree that can pour into me, with grace and wisdom and peace? Because aside from just all of these things that we're talking about, mentorship is very important, and especially God-fearing mentors. Now, along with that comes daily habits. So what daily habits today are you doing that feeds your spirit and your mind? And some of these daily habits can be, and here are some suggestions: read your Bible or faith-based self-development books every single day. Listen to podcasts that challenges you the way that you think, and not just entertains you. And I hope that this podcast does that for you. And then go ahead and write down things that you're grateful for and things that you're still wanting to work on, which that's something that I'm working on right now. It's journaling more often. I do my Bible studies, and I write down those things from what I'm learning from my Bible study, and journaling, and not journaling, but reflecting in those things. And I write down a lot of things from church and everything. But when it comes to my day-to-day journaling, that's something that I personally need to work on as well. And then surround yourself with voices that align with your peace and not your pain. So do not surround yourself with people that, just feed and enable you to stay where you're at and hinder that growth. So make sure that you do look for associations that pushes you to where you want to grow and be at. And then scripture says in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. I love this because this is the real glow up. Learning to surrender to what you can't control and leaving that in God's hand. And that way you can start concentrating and building that consistency on the things that you can control. And when life does get overwhelming, which it will, remember Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I love that. That's where the real feminine power is found, in being still, surrendered, and led by peace. Because true transformation really doesn't come from mirroring others, right? And we see that a lot with social media, and we can fall into that. But it comes from renewing your mind and your heart's posture and really becoming that woman. Your glow up starts internally. It's how you think, how you speak, and how you act when no one is watching. And that right there, that's going to be the hard truth that only you will know and God will know. So, what does my personal glow up look like? There are going to be 3 pillars in this one. It's going to be my faith. So, in my mornings and night, I wake up, study my Bible, and do my prayer. And honestly, everything I do right now, I embody to ensure that I'm glorifying Him. And every decision that I do, and I pray on to make sure that I'm still glorifying Him. And that's where He wants me to go, in the directions that He wants to take me. And then my fitness, right? So we talked about health and how that's very important. So I stay at the gym, 4 to 5 times a week. So that really helps with my strength, my capability, my resilience, my focus, my energy, in so many aspects. It's built a lot of discipline and structure in my life. And then femininity. So I really try to embrace my softness, and something that I'm very mindful of every single day, because as I've shared in my last episode, I used to plug in a lot in my masculine energy. So mindfully looking into my softness is something that I'm intentionally really working on day to day, second by second. So yeah, your glow up really doesn't have to look like mine, but it does take consistency, right? So the key is to ask yourself, what habits make me feel the most radiant? What actions align with that woman that I'm becoming? And those habits, again, have to be feeding into your confidence, into your health, into your mental state, into your growth. So make sure that they're healthy habits. And then don't just chase a better version of yourself. Pursue the woman that God has created you to be. And I can't stress that enough. You're probably going to get me tired of saying that, but it's just very true. Because that version of you doesn't just glow, it will radiate. And that's how you become a creature like no other. Not through perfection, but through obedience, humility, and grace. So as you work on your outer glow, remember your inner light, your faith, your peace, your discipline. That's what's going to really make you magnetic and authentic. All right, so we've had a lot of talk about our glow ups. So when I think about what it truly means to be a creature like no other, It's not about being perfect or untouchable. It's about being set apart, right? You don't want to, again, mirror others. You want to be you. You want to be the most authentic you. It's about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are. And it's that's disciplined to nurture your mind, your body, and your spirit, even when no one is watching. Because that right there, that's integrity. And it's walking into every room with peace, not because you need to prove something, but because you already know your worth. This is truly the glow up era. And it's not a season about vanity, but it's a season about becoming. Becoming the woman God has designed you to be. The woman who prays before she reacts, who sets standards without apologizing, who leads with warmth, but never begs for love. Because confidence without character, that fades. But confidence rooted in faith, that's eternal. So as we move into the next episode, we're going to really talk about that inner work that we've been talking about in that discipline and start to putting that into action. So episode 3 is all about the modern dating boundaries and feminine energy in action, and how to move through dating with discernment, dignity, and deep sense of peace. We'll talk about boundaries that protect your heart, your energy, that draws in that respect, and how to stay soft without losing your strength. So remember this. Becoming a creature like no other is not about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself through faith, discipline, and grace. So your glow up is your divine alignment in motion. And this is just the beginning. And if this episode spoke to you, which I really hope it did, go ahead and share it with another lady that is in her glow up era. Your support really helps the message being spread and touch different hearts. And go ahead and follow on TikTok and Instagram for some inspirational updates. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for day-to-day episodes, and also follow us on the Apple Podcast. And until next time, stay grounded in faith, rooted in grace, and become that woman that God has intended you to be.